Hello everyone, Melissa Alapa up here. Welcome to the third step of the 5 steps to find focus and get things done. So we are into the third step on step 3, which is the one thing. So last time we talked about the first step, the second step, and the third step, which is right now we are on how to find focus and get things done. So, step one, we learned last time that learn why procrastinators don't do and what they don't do. And number two, the power of here and now. So, the step three is the one thing. Let's dive in. What's this one thing? Here's the one thing, the domino effect. Have you ever think about how the smallest actions can have extraordinary consequences? So what this means that imagine a sequence of dominoes lined up one after another. With only the slightest touch of your thumb, you nudge the first, and then it falls knocking over to the second, and then the third, and so on. So until all the dominoes in the sequence have been knocked down. A significant impact from a tiny effort. That's what domino effect is. What many people don't realize is that each single domino is capable of knocking over another twice its size. Now imagine the size of the effects that could be produced if at each step in the sequence we double the size of the next domino. Meaning success works in much the same way. By visualizing the goal at the end of the sequence, the dominoes become the actions that needed to be completed to achieve our objective. This logic implies that not only should each domino be carefully positioned within the chain, but also that its size must be proportional to the one that precedes it. Success is not achieved at a stroke, but rather as the result of a chain completed actions. Now you're gonna think about, so what does it do to me, Melissa? So what does it mean is that focusing our energy on one product at a time, or focusing our energy on one task at a time, means that success drives us forward. These notions, the classic examples, are some of the world's biggest companies like Apple, KFC, Starbucks, Google. By the same token, like Einstein, John Lennon, Walt Disney had so much approach about this. They have all achieved extraordinary things by maintaining one specific point of focus. Similarly, like us right now in our task, if you only focus on one thing and the only thing of the day, then you can tangibly improve people's lives, and you can tangibly improve your condition, your situation, your task in a given time. Next, under the step 3, the one thing is that you have to reorganize your to-do list and apply the Pareto principles. I'm going to say misconceptions permeate society in all levels, holding us back and clouding our judgments with negativity. There's so many things happening every day that even if you watch TV, if you hear things here and there, there's so many negativity. But you have to learn to see beyond is the key to understanding the one thing technique. One of the most common misconceptions we face is that everything is of equal importance. But each entry on a to-do list to each email in your inbox, of course, is not the case. You have only to do the one thing. So the one thing that has you're recognizing your to-do list. So remember that action is not necessarily synonymous to with productivity or work. The most important things aren't always the most obvious. So you have to maintain a clear sense of priority, and it is a crucial thing to so that in order to achieve progress. And then you're gonna ask me, but how do you know what should be done first, Melissa? How can we make the right choices? So the biggest problem most of us have then when it comes to our to-do lists. So I said the last time, the night before you have to write down your to-do list. But again, this to-do list that you're gonna do is that they will help us to manage our day-to-day tasks, but nothing bigger. Sometimes we just have to say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Wake up, drink a coffee, take a walk. Although the small steps is an incremental, this Pareto principle, on the other hand, tells us that you just have to assert the majority of what we desire, the put simply 20% of actions that produces 80% of results. So, for example, you have to pick that 20% of actions, which is that would generate income, that would generate you to the next level. So, you have some clients will make you more money than others. So, the 20% of that actions are more important and more profitable and more valuable than others. That gives you the 80% results that you need, 80% of a free time, 80% of that will give you, will channel or will rechannel your energy to something more significant results. So the next one is like avoid multitasking and keep your mind free. We know we women are always tends to be multitasker, and we say, oh yeah, so that we can get things done. But we imagine that knowing how to manage a multitude of tasks at once, and the most soft is like they've been always been like that, and some employers or some people likes that because oh she can do things um, a lot in a given time. But in reality, passing from one task to the next serves only and increasing the likelihood of messing up. Why? Because the scientific studies have shown that each interruption serves as a sort of reset button for the brain, requiring an effort equivalent to starting a new task outright just to pick up where we left off. So, the neurochemical of our brain has this dopamine. So the dopamine is the happy chemical that would tell us that when we accomplish task, we're so happy. But again, the other side of the coin is that the tendency of our brain to shut down when it felt uncomfortable and overwhelming is another big problem. So if you multitask and you're saying to yourself, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, at the same time you're holding your phone, you're cooking, you're doing the laundry, and at the same time you're answering some emails. So you're folding laundry, um, you're also the cooking at the same time, the you're boiling water for a pasta, and at the same time you're replying to a text message, and at the same time your computer is open to reply email. You don't realize that you are overwhelming your brain, and when your brain overwhelmed, then it shuts down, and that feeling of shuts down tends as a gives you the result of an accomplished task, and then you feel exhausted, and then you feel right away unmotivated. So we don't want that to happen. So again, so when we say that there's a reset button of the brain that requiring an effort equivalent to starting a new task outright just to pick up where we left off, this means that instead of concentrating on one task, each interruption multiplies the number of tasks your brain needs to manage by three. It's what we call task interruption task. By the end of the day, this leads not only to significant time loss, but also a significant amount of added stress. So, really, being capable of dealing with several tasks at the same time doesn't mean it's a good idea, but simply answering a phone reduces your concentration. And even if concentration is a valued so highly to people who are pilots, who are surgeons, who are, if concentration is needed in that task, then it jeopardizes our task or our concentration and our job to do, right? So this approach is also relevant when it comes to social interactions. So, for example, our mind has a finite um, level of energy, which a mobile phone, if someone's speaking to you, you have to give a full attention. If you are wanting to have results, you have make sure you're showing your empathy, and by showing that empathy to a person when you're talking to them. For example, you are in a sales a conversation and you're giving a feature of your product. If you're not engaging in your conversation and 40% of your brain is only like, engaging on it, then the customer doesn't feel the sincerity of their product that you're selling. In the same manner, when I'm having this video go live and half of my brain is thinking I still has to do this and do that, so 40%, you are not seeing in me the you are not resonating in me what am I talking here, because even myself here is only 40% is having this attention situation. So really we don't have to multitask. It was been highly recommended that um, if you can, please do so. Each day we use our own energy to avoid distractions, resist temptations, avoid conflicts, and try impress colleagues, manage fear to do things that we don't enjoy. So close long-term gains over short-term ones on all of the things manifest wear us manifestly that wear us down. So the one thing, and it's a crucial factor, is to bear in mind when it comes to the mind's energy is that we have to nourish it. We have to make sure we have to prioritize crucial functions of our brain to accomplish over harder tasks and demanding tasks. So we don't burning energy without realizing and not properly replenishing it inevitably leaves us a feeling exhausted and demotivated at the end of the day. We need to think about how we use our energy by economizing our effort. Will have strength to take on the tasks that most demand it and will be in the best place on the right decision to do and focus on the one thing. The next, we have to develop the right routines and don't crave equilibrium. So, another popular misconception is that most successful people are disciplined. That's true. There's nothing wrong about it. In truth, discipline is very useful for just as long as it takes for us to become for us. In truth, discipline is useful for just as long as it takes for an action to become a routine. So really, in my other readings of this book, it says you have to have 45 days consistently to build a routine. So if you fail to do that for only one day, you have to go back again to reset and establish a routine. Then that's a truthful way of making yourself more disciplined. And you call yourself a successful person who had discipline within yourselves. But really, to integrate something into your daily routine saves huge amount of energy, as it is no longer requires either effort or discipline to get done. The high level sportsmen, as an example, men and women don't need discipline to train. It's just another part of their daily routine, something entirely natural, because really they had integrate that already in their own system in a daily basis. So, success then is less of a marathon, more of a sprint. We need to retrain our concentration for long enough that one thing becomes a part of our routine and we can see it through to the end. So, in the same manner, we have to try to balance out the time you spend on each day, on each activity. You'll only ever average at each of them. Incapable of excelling in anyone's. Success lies in the extremes, in the imbalances. So you have to say, what then should I do? What's important is to offset your excesses. So if you have this excess, give yourself the leisure time you need to work hard and then apply your 100%. Whatever you do, focus on the most important aspects of your work and give yourself the time you need to get them done. Then offset this with another important area of your life, for example, your family. Again, you have to give yourself the time you need to make the best of it. And don't be afraid if your life is not balanced. Quiet the opposite, embrace it. Prioritizing the most important things in each area of your life is the key for a productive and a well rounded life. So let's go to number six. Number six, ask, ask a big question and get a big answer. So what this means is that as soon an idea is seen as being too ambitious or flying in the face of tradition, we face against a wall of opposition. So some people will say, oh, it's too difficult, it's too risky, it's too expensive. I'll take too it will take too much effort and I'm not ready. I don't think it's for me, and etc. Everyone suffers a sudden sense of megalophobia. So mega means big, like huge task, huge concept, huge take on, right? Huge risk. But in truth, no one knows what they are truly capable of. We cannot be defined solely by our current abilities. Our future abilities and potentials are just as relevant, things we don't even know about yet. So, if the scope of your life seems limited, then you're not living big enough. Believing in big is a habit like others. It just needs to be acquired and put into use. The quality of the answer is contingent on the quality of the question. The bigger the question, the bigger the result of its scope. So you have to ask a big question and get a big answer. Sometimes it says the will to think big is there, but we struggle to know how to get about it. In this case, it's worth looking at the lives of those who have already followed this path. It's rare to find people who've made their own way in life, deviating from the norm, but nevertheless, our answers can often be obtained from our predecessors. By putting our pride aside and learning from them, we can benefit in all aspects of our lives. So you have to think big. Think big. Find the one thing. You need to get the thing started and then concentrate on progressing one step at a time. The book who authored the one thing, Keller, that I just read, it says that um, it says to define what it is, the most important factor in each aspect of his life is to place them in order, and his spiritual life first. That's how he valued it. It's interesting because I also do the same and pretty much admire this author of this book. um, his spiritual life first, then his health, their personal life, work, and finally his financial well-being. So meaning you just have to prioritize the one thing that navigates you and makes you take off to the next level, so that the 80% of your time will be directed towards something more valuable that sets you predominantly to one thing that's you had already acquired everything. So by asking the big questions and searching out the big answers, you have the tools you need to make a real difference. The question needs to be ambitious and large in its scope, but also specific enough to facilitate a precise response. For example, one classic example is that instead of asking yourself, how can I sell more? Try this question: how can I double my sales figures for the next 6 months? So instead of asking, how can I sell more? So you just have to be specific. How can I double? How can I double my sales figures for the next 6 months? Or how can I double um, my productivity? How can I double the results that I needed to do? And then you have to put in between um, the numbers or the exact figures that you want. The answer may already be well within the realms of possibility. As such, the next step is simply to act on it, work hard on it, and apply yourself and hit those targets. So, quite often, the solutions will necessitate a change of behavior too. The same old questions inevitably only lead to the same solutions. Nevertheless, the result justifies the effort, and this is what can make us truly exceptional. The last one that I'm going to share to you is under this one thing is that the winning formula is to determine your goal, define your priority, and be productive. So the only way to achieve extraordinary success is to determine your goal. Class each action required according to your priorities, and then be productive. By respecting this order, you'll make sure that no time is wasted and you'll fulfill your ambitions. Your goals are important as they define who you are. As such, it is important not to take them lightly either. To have material goals is certainly a laudable ambition, but ownership and the escalating needs associated with it only ever brings a peripheral sense of fulfillment. Satisfaction linked to possession and is fragile and short lived and is quickly replaced with a desire for the next after object. Our wealth is sufficient once we have enough money to fulfill our objectives. If you don't know what your goals are, you'll have no way of knowing how much money you need. So you'll never have enough. Again, if you don't know what your goals are, you'll have no way of knowing how much money you need. So you'll never have enough. On the other hand, if you have a fixed objective, you'll know what you need and your target you'll be able to enjoy and spend your time on the things that really matter to you. Now, having a clear goal in mind will help you think quickly and clearly is the keys to good decision making. A clear objective is also a source of inspiration and can help us overcome and obstacles our success. Now, a sense of achievement and satisfaction can be attained despite as well as the result of the difficulties we face. We have to be specific. We have to be specific in your one goal that can seem complicated. It should be specific. It's a good idea to think back to the one thing above all else that you desire to do. By using the focalization questions, you'll be able to filter down your ideas to the truly essential, and there you'll find your starting point. Nevertheless, an objective without a clear sense of your priority is largely pointless. We're not talking about priorities in the modern usage, but rather your priority in the singular etymological sense that no one and only one thing that passes over and above all others. For this, we need to break down the way our aims will play out into a successive stages when like what needs to be done in 5 years, what needs to be done in 1 year, what needs to be done in 1 month, what needs to be done in 1 week, and what needs to be done in 1 day, or what needs to be done right now. The more precise you'll be able to align your dominoes. Finally, you'll be productive. Black out time for yourself. Ideally, you should be productive, and you should block out time in the morning and at least 4 hours straight. So black out time for yourself. Ideally, should be in the morning and should be 5 hours. Should be four. Should be here's my figure. 4 hours straight. 4 hours straight. During this time, insist on having no interruption of answer by whatsoever. No interruption by whatsoever. Most people work according to their watches. The day's over once the clock hits 6 and that's it. But the real go-getters don't stop until all the days to work had been finished. Think of your workplace as a banker, somewhere you can cut yourself off from the distractions of the outside. Stock up on the right food so that you don't need to leave your room and look after yourself. Take the time to explain to your colleagues and what you're doing and why make your environment as pleasant and why it is motivating. So finally, take an hour or so each week to analyze how your projects are coming along. But most importantly, you have to have this one thing. Productivity is inextricably linked with recovery time. So increasing productivity is only possible if you can offset our effort with an appropriate rest. So the last one is the way of the master. Mastering widely is perceived to be the culmination of years of intense study and education. I'm just going to stop right there. I think so. Mastering, we are never able to truly master a subject unless we don't commit to and we don't process a constant improvement. Sometimes giving your best simply is not enough, but we need to try and achieve the maximum possible, surpass our natural limitations, and try to react differently. This is the way of the master. When you taking responsibility becomes ingrained in us, you're simply you're simply giving yourself the chance to be the master of it. Remember that most experts actively seek to engage with their peers to have a different knowledge and expertise of their own, but the understanding they stand to gain is central to their continuing development. So simply, the fundamental point is that you have to bring closer objective in cultivating mindset of someone who has mastered their domain. So mastering something is a subject. Instead, it's an approach to life that doesn't end itself. The right state of mind allows us to excel with limitless progress. So there you go, guys. I just had deliberately explained to you this one thing, and we know for sure that we always say, "I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, and I will." Thank you, Vernie, for watching again. And thank you that you say you needed this motivation, procrastination, the one thing, and focus. Vernie is tuning in live from the Philippines. Thank you so much. And of course, I will remind each and every one of us that if you find this video helpful to you, please visit me or stop by and check out my link www.melissainfo.com. I hope this quick and short talk regarding step 3 of the procrastination, that step 3 in finding focus and get things done, the one thing, had helped you today. I wish you a blessed day and good morning to everyone who is listening, and good afternoon or good evening to the other time zone. Bye for now. Take care.